Hello.
Hi there.
There we go. Ooh, sun. Ooh.
Yes, you look dappled.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the best place. Here, I'll move over here. Oh, it's on my chin. Let's try to be. Oh, no.
I think it looks perfectly fine, just as it is.
It's right there.
Your halo.
Yeah, I have a halo, that's for sure. That's sun. What am I going to do about it?
Is Tracy our hostess
Yes.
today? Okay. All right. And there's Mr. Barrie. So
Good.
Good.
You can see me now.
Yay!
Hi, everybody.
Welcome.
Good morning, afternoon.
Good day. Yes, good day. Good day.
You can tell what a short day I seem to have had if I think.
Yeah. I've done that before too. It seems like morning.
Yes, it does to me still, but
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. How are you? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can't see you.
Hang on. Weird. Hang on. There we go. Can you
There
hear
you go.
me?
Hi.
Oh, there I am. Good. Hi,
Yes.
how are you?
Hi.
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Mr. Barrie, am I correct in pronouncing your name like fruit?
Like a fruit.
Yes, okay, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking.
Jeff, this is Cindy Witt. Good to see you. How
Hi,
are you?
Cindy. Hey, great to see you as well.
Yeah. It's been a little while, I think. Yeah.
A few years.
Glad you're going to be here with us today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. I'm excited to share this story and have a conversation about the environment. And I'm assuming you all will tell me when you're ready for me to start my presentation.
Linda will introduce you.
Okay.
So as soon as Linda introduces you,
Yeah.
says all those great things about you, then you can start.
It's not even 1 o'clock yet. We're all early.
We're eager.
Yes, that's great.
Mr. Barrie, I'll give you a direct address after I give my spiel about you, and we'll hope that you'll correct me if I've made an error, but I'll just say directly, and now we look forward to hearing from Mr.
Fantastic.
Barrie. Okay,
Sounds
then
good.
you'll know that's your cue, so.
Yes. If I'm just standing here staring off into space, just say, Jeff, you.
Well, it's a new world to do all of this on Zoom, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Maybe we're getting better at it. I'm not sure I am, but maybe.
What someone said last night, and I was getting ready for another presentation that's coming up on Monday, that we thought we knew technology before, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we're learning it again, and it is.
That's for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I must say it has allowed me to basically go back to school sometimes because I'm taking webinars from universities all over the country, and I find that wonderful that I can do that.
Yeah, there you go. There's got to be a degree for that, right? A Zoom degree.
I love it because I don't have to spend all the time driving.
I know.
You know?
Yeah,
It's
so nice.
It's wonderful. I resisted it first, but once I got used to it, it's kind of like, oh, I don't think I'll ever go back, you know?
Yeah, because I was just at a presentation like literally 5 minutes ago. I just jumped off in Knoxville. And now I'm going over here. I had to just tell them, hey, I got to run over to Williamson County real quick. So I'll see you all later.
Besides that, you can come barefoot if you want.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, actually, I think I am barefoot. Yes.
June, I'm going to mute myself, so I'll wait for your cue to.
I'll be right back, y'all.
And I'm also going to mute.
Betty? Hi. Are you able to handle the questions after he speaks?
I didn't see Kathy.
I don't see her either. That's why I'm asking. Is that okay?
Yes, I sent him the
Thank you.
questions last night, but I have another one about plastic. So if I get an opportunity, I will ask him. And he may cover it anyway. Who knows?
Thank you. How are we doing? I'll wait a few more minutes.
And will Betty be joining us?
Betty's here.
Oh, she is. Okay.
I am here.
Oh, that is you. That is you. Okay, cool.
That's me.
Hi, Betty.
It goes by Elizabeth most of the time, except for people who know
Okay.
me.
Gotcha. Wonderful.
All right, well, let's get started. It's a few minutes after 1. I'll do my intro, my welcome. My name is June Bond, and I have the privilege of welcoming you to the October Williamson County League of Women Voters event. Our speaker today is Jeffery, an advocate for environmental solutions. Please feel free to type in any questions you may have in the chat box, and he'll address them when he's done talking. I'm sure that most of you have already voted or have made a plan to vote, and I wish to thank you, but I would also like to ask you to speak with your family, your neighbors, and your friends, and find out whether or not they've made a plan to vote. Our vote is our voice, and our voice matters. Linda, would you please introduce today's speaker?
Yes, welcome to everyone, and particularly it is a pleasure to welcome environmentalist Jeffery Barrie, a graduate of UCLA in environmental studies, filmmaker, and current CEO of the Tennessee Environmental Council. Mr. Barrie has combined film artistry with grassroots organizing. He has produced award-winning documentaries, most recently in 2008, the film Kilowatt Hours, spelled O-U-R-S, which is, I think, very clever. When I was a child, Ready Kilowatt showed up on my mother's potholders and elsewhere in the household because he was the sign of rural electricity in the Midwest. So Kilowatt was a friend of mine as a child.
Mhm.
That film was also talking to us about energy conservation and renewable power. His other award-winning films are Generation Earth, 1995, regarding the value of environmental education, and Arctic Quest in 1999, about the importance of preserving the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. By leveraging the power of documentary storytelling and combining with public strategies for positive changes in the world, Mr. Barrie has defined his career. Mr. Barrie, we look forward to hearing from you, and we thank you for coming to speak with us today.
You're welcome. And let me see, we all systems are go here. Yes, you're welcome. And thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and share a piece of the story about caring for our environment. And it was, I'm glad you opened up with the get out the vote message, because I know that's one of the main reasons your organization exists. And I was doing a little bit of research last night, and I realized that Tennessee ranks 48th in the nation in terms of voter turnout. It looks like according to all the Facebook posts I see from friends and family around town waiting 2-hour lines to do early voting, that we may not be 48th this year. And in fact, I guess 51% of the registered voters had turned out in the 2016 election, and that's in Tennessee. And I will say, if 51% of eligible adults turned out for our programs at Tennessee Environmental Council, we'd be thrilled, to take care of the environment. If we had that success rate among people wanting to do simple things to take care of our environment, we'd be in great shape, planetarily speaking. So I guess I will go ahead, and I do have a PowerPoint presentation, a number of slides I'm going to run through and address as many of the questions as you all had if I don't hit questions that are meaningful or important to you, feel free to shout them out when I'm done, or if you need to want me to clarify anything during the presentation, feel free to do that too. So I'm going to go ahead and click share screen. So you won't be looking at me as much as you are my PowerPoint presentation, which I will put in slideshow mode here. Let's see. And I'm ready to roll. So if someone could give a shout out and let me know, take yourself off mute for a second. Can you see the presentation?
We can see it.
Great. All right, let me move your faces so I can see what I'm talking about here. Taking care of the environment from home. That's the theme of the presentation. And I am Jeff Barrie, CEO of Tennessee Environmental Council. I've been in this position for 18 months as the Chief Executive Officer. And I get the great privilege and honor of, I guess I better hide all of these images down here so you can see the thing. Of being the CEO that gets to ring in our 50th year. Our 50th anniversary is actually in December. December 11th is the actual day our charter was signed by the Secretary of State of Tennessee in 1970. And I will share a number of engagement opportunities with you all in this presentation. And
You actually get a Coke? No.
say it, okay. I guess that was, did you have a question?
Does that say diet? No, it's Dr. Pepper. Maybe it is. Maybe
Okay.
it is Dr. Pepper. Someone just said.
Susie
Just a
might
minute,
want-
excuse me. Tracy, can you mute everyone, please? Tracy can do it,
You
can't
want
she? Or
to,
can,
Norma?
Do I need to do it on mine now? Because I'm,
okay, go ahead.
okay. Yeah, so it was so cool that, I just love that we are part of Tennessee's history, and I'm trying to go back here. Oh no, there we go. And if you go down to Bicentennial Mall, we are chiseled in the granite down there. In the year 1970, Tennessee Environmental Council was formed. So I definitely go down there and check that out as often as I can to remind myself that the work we do with this organization is memorialized and it is meaningful. And I also appreciate the little historical write-up that Elizabeth Betty sent to me last night from one of your members. It was written by Ann Toplovich, and it was really wonderful to see that write-up that is in the annotated history of Tennessee. So I don't take the position lightly. I take it with great honor and also great enthusiasm, because I know we can, there's so much we can do to improve the quality of our environment. And that's what we go do every day, and figure out ways to do that within our organization. And there's our charter signed by 6 organizations and a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, looks like 10 individuals, including Cecil Branstetter, who was considered the father of Metro government here in Nashville back in the 1960s. It's a great organization that was founded by 6 organizations, including League of Women Voters, Cheekwood, Junior League of Nashville, American Lung Association, the Tennessee chapter of the National Garden Clubs, or the Tennessee Federation of Garden Clubs, and the Tennessee Wildlife Federation, which was known at the time as the Tennessee Conservation League. These are the 6 organizations that representatives from each signed that charter. So engagement opportunity number 1 is join us on December 10th, 7 p.m. right here on the internet, and for our 50th anniversary online celebration. We'll have some really cool announcements we're going to make. It'll be a fun and entertaining program, and meaningful as well, to look at a bit of Tennessee's environmental history, as well as what's in store for the future. So I'll give a little backstory on how I became involved in Tennessee Environmental Council, as well as in the environment in general. Flashback to 1970s when the Tennessee Environmental Council was just an infant, right? A toddler, a little child running around the circles of Tennessee's communities. I was in Southern California, and wearing my UCLA shirt, kind of my destiny, I guess, and at my uncle's patio in Santa Monica, California. And he took me to see this film when I was 13 years old called Koyani Scotzi. And I can't see your faces, but I'm guessing some of you may have heard of this, if not seen it. It was a cult film, just a classic movie, a documentary in 1983 that sort of has taken the world by storm. It was a groundbreaking film in many ways, but it painted an incredible portrayal of humankind and our impact on the planet and ourselves, each other. And the Koyani Scotzi is a Hopi term that means crazy life or life in turmoil, life out of balance, a state of life that calls for another way of living. And it was incredibly powerful visual film with no narration, just music, a score by Philip Glass. So I saw that when I was 13 years old. And for the next 10 years as a teen filmmaker, I tried to emulate the style of that film. So I'd go around and film scenes of streets in Los Angeles and mountains in Southern California, nature and urban sort of human and nature interactions. And I was just always fascinated by that. I made a lot of fun films like Saws 2 and How to Play Basketball, but I was also always fascinated by the documentary genre and capturing the interactions between humans and the environment. So I went to UCLA with the hopes of becoming a filmmaker, but I graduated with a degree in environmental studies, which, because the film school denied my applications, an extremely competitive program, I chose environmental studies as my major. And it was one of the greatest sort of, I guess, predestined outcomes, or however it came to be. I'm grateful for what happened, because by taking classes in the environment at UCLA from really knowledgeable and passionate professors and grad students, teachers, that it was just an incredible eye-opening experience for me, and it determined my career. I decided that I would become a filmmaker for the environment. So this is the first film I produced out of UCLA, out of college in 1995. It was released, called Generation Earth, and it's only available on DVD. Haha, sign of the times. And I have copies here, but we went around, me and a friend I met in college, Tyson, we traveled around looking at high school kids involved in the environment, and we called it Generation Earth. And then I made a film called Arctic Quest, and I went up to Alaska with a group of teenagers learning about the oil drilling controversy up there and whether or not we should drill for oil in a protected wildlife refuge. And I took that film across America on a bicycle tour because I wanted to share that message that was in the film with people across America. And not only that, I wanted to draw attention to the Arctic refuge issue. And I thought, well, if I ride a bicycle across America, that might make the news somewhere, especially if I'm followed by a hybrid car, which at the time was a novelty, was not even being sold in America, the hybrid Prius, only in Japan. But Toyota donated that Prius. I got on the bike and collected letters to Congress along the way. And as far as advocacy goes, it really worked well. It was a powerful experience where we got on the front pages of newspapers and on television news quite dozens of times as we crossed America over the course of 4 months. And so that's actually what brought me to Tennessee. I rode to Tennessee on my bicycle in the year 2000. And when I got here, my first office was in a sublease with the Tennessee Environmental Council in the year 2000 over in Metro Center. We're still there today. And I produced this film, Kilowatt Hours, as my next piece. Although I spent 2 years in Tennessee getting support from Representative Bob Clement and Bart Gordon, and lobbying to get support from Senator Fred Thompson and Senator Bill Frist, which both voted in favor of drilling the refuge, but Bart Gordon and Bob Clement both voted to protect the Arctic refuge. So it was a bittersweet campaign. We had some victories, but ended up winning that bigger campaign because there was a Senate filibuster, which ended up going in favor of protecting the Arctic refuge. So I moved on to make this film, Kilowatt Hours. It won several film festivals, and after about 10 years of promoting that film and working on energy conservation campaigns, I came over and interviewed for a position with the Tennessee Environmental Council. And it seems they were the first door I walked into when I moved to Tennessee, and I'm still there. 20 years later in some capacity. So our mission, we just revamped it, is engaging individuals and communities to improve our environment and public health. And we have, as you know, the environment is a big topic. It's the globe, it's the planet, it's the atmosphere, it's the earth, it's the plants and the animals on the earth. So there's a lot to take care of when you look at it at that scale. And how do you address a warming planet when the consequences are more severe hurricanes and wildfires that are out of control? It's like they seem that the problems seem bigger than any one human could even hope to address. So we have to figure out how do we break that down into a way that makes more sense and that feels empowering for individuals to get involved in the solutions. So we break, at least in one of our programs, Sustainable Tennessee, we break it down into water quality, air, transportation, energy, land use, food and farming, solid waste or recycling, and public health. It's just a way to start to break it down to make the topics or the domains of the environment more digestible. And so that brings me to opportunity number 2, our Sustainable Tennessee. We have webinars and events every couple months, and we have one about environmental justice in Tennessee, the history of environmental justice, presented by Dr. Paget from TSU. And let me see, I'll move this out of the way so you can see, mark your calendar, it's next Wednesday at 6 p.m. And you can go to our website and find out. It's free, you just have to register. Like, it'll be a Zoom presentation like this. And you can hear from a man who's known as the expert in environmental justice issues in Tennessee, Dr. Paget. So that's our next Sustainable Tennessee topic. That's your second opportunity to get engaged. So we came up with visions in the Sustainable Tennessee program. We gather people from across Tennessee to talk about the issues that I broke down, those domains for you just a second ago. And we came up with a mission statement or a vision statement for each of those domains. Like Tennessee's clean energy economy is booming. That's a vision for the future that we want to work towards now. And renewable power and energy efficiency companies are a key engine for job creation. And that's a very doable future, right? One of the questions you texted me yesterday was about nuclear power, and it is still where TVA is focusing their near midterm future is in those power plants, because they know how to do it, and for them it's relatively inexpensive. There's pretty much a glut of electricity from nuclear power in our region right now. And so TVA is not incentivized to do alternate forms of energy or efficiency at this point. So nuclear will be where we get most of our energy in this region for the foreseeable future. But there are companies like E3 Innovate that go out and make homes more energy efficient, because it's not just the quality of the energy being produced, but it's also the nature of the buildings. The health of our indoor air quality depends on how those homes are built. In fact, in Metro Davidson County right now, there's a energy code update bill that is being put forth to the Metro Council. And energy codes for buildings are what make homes and buildings that we work in and live in day in and day out healthier or unhealthy, efficient or inefficient. So we look at air issues and transportation, air quality and water quality, air quality and transportation impacts of the transportation network on air quality as well. And how do we make more efficient transportation for everybody as our region explodes in population, has not slowed down even in this area. Here's an interesting little side note about the effects of COVID on air pollution. And this is a year ago, March, and you could see the air, these are air quality air quality indicators that are mapped here in Nashville. You can see our basin has pretty poor air quality at times, not as bad as Atlanta or New York or Los Angeles, but a year later, when people were staying at home and the economy slowed this year, you can see the air quality improved dramatically from last year to this year, just because of shifts in how people live day to day. The gridlock of our highways is still kind of has transformed, even as we are, many of us, most of us, still as productive as we were before. Unless you have to go to the factory and put things together physically, there's a lot of stuff we can do by from our computers. In fact, Tennessee Environmental Council is 100% remote right now, more like 95% remote. We do check into the office, but we're able to do most of our work from the computer, on the phone. The vision for farms and food is that Tennessee is known as nationally for its vibrant local organic farm-to-table infrastructure. And it's actually Tennessee is an agricultural state with something like 60,000 farms, private farms, producing food for our communities and for America. Now, solid waste is obviously a hot topic in our region, Williamson County, all of Middle Tennessee. And I turned this into a meme. This is like kind of near where I live. And when I walk in the mornings on trash day, I'm kind of blown away by people's trash behaviors. The things they put in the trash, the things they put in the recycling, think it's going to get recycled. But this was the caption I put on this meme was, "Are you feeling bloated? Think of how our landfills must feel," because the regional landfill Middle Point down in Murfreesboro is reaching its capacity in just a few years, within the decade. It will have to close, which means we're gonna have to find somewhere else to put all of our trash. And so one of our programs is around recycling. And how do we do that properly? Because when we put the wrong things in the recycle cart, things that cannot be recycled, like glass jars, for example, cannot be recycled in the curbside cart in Nashville. And I don't know how many curbside programs are in Williamson County right now. I would guess Franklin might have one. But when the wrong things are thrown in the cart, it messes up, it contaminates the entire system. So we have to do it right in order for it to work. But the regional recycling economy is a vibrant one in the Southeast. There are lots of manufacturing plants that are buying recycled materials from our cities and turning them into new products. So opportunity number 3 for you all to get engaged here is to register for a recycling cart scan. If you want us to come into your, wherever you live, and you would actually take pictures of your recycling container and send it to brandy@tectn.org. And we will take a look at it and say, yes, you're doing a great job. Or those 3 things there need to be put in the trash because they're not recyclable in the current infrastructure. Or you can take them to a convenience center. We'll give you some guidance on that. If you want us to help you with that, send that email to brandy@tectn.org, letting her know you would like to do a recycle scan. Now, I understand you may not have a recycling cart in your community because I'm not sure what curbside programs are in Williamson County. But if you do recycle and you want to make sure you're doing it properly, you can still do it no matter how your residential infrastructure is. A lot of people I know have boxes where they put their recyclables, then take it to the convenience center. Well, we can help you with that. But I'm guessing if you are recycling in that fashion, you probably are doing it right. The average Tennessee, talking about waste, and this is from our own research over the past 2 years, the average Tennessee household throws away 8.66 pounds of compostable food waste every week. The kitchen scraps, the old tea bags, the coffee grounds, the watermelon rind. I mean, all those things, it adds up to an enormous amount of trash going into the system, into the landfills. It's like 30% of all the trash we're throwing away in Middle Tennessee is compostable. So it's an enormous thing, but there's the before after. My watermelon rinds in my compost bin in my backyard, and then the beautiful compost soil amendment that is in my hands there after a couple months of it breaking down. Composting works naturally. All you gotta do is put the food scraps in a pile or a compost bin of some sort. Mine are open air. It's in the corner of my yard where I cannot even see it from my house. tucked away, but I've been putting stuff there for 15 years and it has never filled up. I just keep scraping it out from the bottom and putting it in my garden. It's a valuable resource, and it actually reduces carbon emissions and methane emissions from those landfills. And it actually absorbs carbon back into the soil. So when you have rich soils, it benefits the climate as well. So we started a campaign called Compost Your Compost. We now have over 1,000 people signed up, and we've composted through that. Those volunteers, 300 tons of food waste that have not been put in our landfills, but put back into our gardens. And that's a partnership with Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. And so opportunity number 4 for you to engage is to go to our website and register for Compost Your Compost. If you already do compost, register as well, because you can register as an existing composter or a first-time composter. We'll walk you through the process. We just want to build this community of people that care about it and are doing it on a regular basis. Land use, healthy balance between development and conservation interests. We're going to continue to develop our region. We're going to keep building houses and commercial buildings. So the way we develop our communities is a choice we can make. This is traditional development here in my cul-de-sac. And whereas there are models of way more eco-friendly development where you have rain gardens and trees and shrubs and pervious pavement in the parking lots, there are ways to design our cities much more ecologically friendly. One of our land use programs, I guess, would be considered as the Tennessee Pollinator Habitat Program. We just signed a partnership with the Natural Resources Conservation Service, which is NRCS, and they are helping us to plant pollinator habitats across Tennessee. All y'all can sign up for that. You sign up, we send you the seeds, you carve out a little bit of your yard, 25 or 50 square feet, not a big area, or as big as you want. And we give you the seeds, you plant them, and next year you have, this is mine, my front yard, my lawn. When I dug my pollinator garden, and there it is, well, you got to see it. I've got to walk my computer over there so you can see it now. This was like that later that year when I planted those pollinator plants. Basically, a pollinator garden is where you plant flowers and the butterflies come and the bees come and feed off those flowers and they pollinate them. And then they go out and they spread pollen and they make honey, and it creates, they pollinate our food as well. The more pollinators we have, the insects, they give us food. Significant amount of our food is derived from pollination through insects. And right now, I'm just gonna walk over there because it is, I'm assuming you can see me. I'll show you later, but it's my pollinator garden has taken over with this explosion of yellow flowers now, many times greater than what I'm showing you here in this image of swamp daisies that have taken over since, but it's a late blooming species. So the butterflies and the bees come and they eat and they reproduce. And so we create habitats for those pollinator species. You can register for yours at tectm.org. There's opportunity number 5. We work towards clean water. A third of Tennessee's waters are impaired. They can't support healthy populations of fish or other aquatic wildlife. So we have a program where we go in and clean up those streams. We're working in Spring Hill right now on a project called Grassy Branch. This is a rain garden we installed down there last week. This is us last week. There I am. There's our former CEO, John McFadden. Jordan Young is our field operations manager. There's Gwen, who is my executive assistant. There's Julia, who runs the compost program. And there's the rain garden we built that morning. We just dug it out, filled it in with a sandier soil mix so that when it rains, the water gets absorbed there rather than run off into the stream that's back there. It will still end up in the stream, but it goes through and gets cleaned off first. And this is actually in a stormwater revetment. So not a revetment, but a swale. So off screen here, there's a big hole, a storm drain basically that gushes out into this zone every time it rains. So it's pulling all the pollutants off the streets of Spring Hill, and they wash straight into the river, Grassy Branch Creek, which feeds into the Duck River, which is a significant river, ecologically speaking. Well, these rain gardens slow down that flow of water and capture the water, and it percolates into the ground instead of flowing straight off into the stream. And when it percolates in, it feeds the plants and it reduces the pollution that ends up in the creek. So I'm going to talk about trees as well. These are some shots from a drone that I directed a few years ago for a project for Bridgestone. And we organize Tennessee Tree Day every year, and we are in the midst of organizing that right now for March of next year. We've planted 679,000 trees since the beginning of this program, which was 2007. We're aiming for 1 million by 2025. We'll do more if the resources allow, because we found no shortage of people interested in planting trees in their communities. And this is where we get our trees. We source them from the East Tennessee Nursery, which is a state-run nursery. Some 80 acres of tree seedlings that get distributed across our state. It's a beautiful place. What we do is we set up these volunteer-run pickup site locations all across Tennessee. That's what the phase we're in right now is setting those up. And then we bring all the trees that people order to those locations. Then people from the local community can come out and pick them up. And I imagine several of you all probably have heard of this program because we always have several locations in Williamson County, and Middle Tennessee Electric is a sponsor of that program every year. And this past March, we did 42,000 trees, 6,000 volunteers. Those 42,000 trees equals 347 acres of new tree canopy over the next 20 years as those trees grow. And enormous amounts of carbon sequestered, captured by those trees as they grow. So incredible ecological benefits from planting thousands and thousands of trees. And there's just a map of where they were planted this year. So that's opportunity number 7. We're going to open that registration for Tree Day in November. We also have a gift a tree program where if you can't get out and plant a tree, you can, no matter where your loved one lives, you can sign up and buy a tree for a loved one for the holidays or for a birthday or for whatever occasion. We'll give you a certificate, and then we'll give that tree to a volunteer to plant during Tree Day. So your tree will get planted in honor of a loved one. We got some really wonderful testimonials from the people that participate in Tree Day. And especially this was right as the lockdown was taking place in March, and people talked a lot about how emotionally satisfying and rewarding it was to get outside and do something when the world seemed to be falling apart for many. And Tree Day did win us the Governor's Environmental Stewardship Award a few years ago, and engages thousands of people across Tennessee, every corner of the state. We actually end up having volunteers in all 95 counties that participate. It's an exciting thing. We love doing Tree Day, and we love seeing those trees grow. And speaking of tree growth, here's my ex-wife in the year 2006, probably, when our daughter was 1 year old, and we planted this sycamore tree as a seedling. And trees have become an important part of our family, and I've planted lots of them on this property. And my girls will be back here for another week this evening. But Lily is our first daughter that was born in 2005. And then 3 years later, or 2 years later, 2 or 3, with her best friend Vivian, as that sycamore grew, a lot faster than she grew. There's when it was planted, there's 2 years later. And then here's last week or a couple weeks ago with Lily and our other daughter, Nina, and that sycamore tree is now like 40 feet tall. It's just incredible. So tree planting is a family event. There's the tree. I'm sort of hugging it. It's a beautiful sycamore in the yard, and it just continues to skyrocket. Our Greenfield project is on hold now because that property is shut down from the client due to COVID. But we plant pollinator habitats out there. This property is in West Nashville, and we bring all sorts of volunteer groups out there year round to plant trees, pollinator habitats, and other ecological features out there. So I'm going to bring it back to a close here with our 50th anniversary engagement opportunity. So Just to remind you to join us on December 10th at 7 p.m. for our 50th anniversary. And thank you for this opportunity to speak with you all. And I'd be happy to take any questions you might have. Stop the sharing in the back.
Jeff,
Yeah.
can you see the chat room
Yes.
where the questions are?
Yep. You want me to just run through those?
Yeah, if you don't mind, and I'll add one. Would you tell us about your plastic-free July?
Yeah, so I'll start with that one. The Plastics Free July it's a global effort because microplastics are everywhere now, and so a lot of them come from the plastic grocery bags because those end up blowing out and getting into the environment, and they break down into the fibers that end up in our rivers and streams. And the Tennessee River is one of the most polluted rivers in terms of microplastics in all the world. And yeah, you would think, why would we have so much plastic in our rivers? But it also comes off of our clothing. If you have nylon clothes or non-cotton clothing made with synthetic fibers, when you wash your laundry, those fibers they go down into the drain and they go through the sewage treatment plant and they end up in the rivers and streams. So microplastics pollution, those microplastics are absorbed. They're little fibers of plastic, basically, tiny pieces, microscopic, as well as just small pieces you can probably pick up and see in the rivers and streams. But they get absorbed by fish and other aquatic species and end up in the food chain. And they do have detrimental effects at the genetic levels, some of the plastics that end up eating. So we just promote that Plastics Free July, and we encourage you to purchase things that come in glass instead, because this is it can be recycled infinitely. Glass can, and you can take it to a convenience center. It gets shipped down to Atlanta, but it does get recycled in this region, not in the curbside. But and just use other reusable containers and eliminate your use of plastics for a month if you can. And it's just an awareness raising event. And also I would let you know that TDEC is offering a Zero Waste Day coming up on October 27th. And if you go to TDEC, just Google TDEC Zero Waste Day, they have a web page set up for that. And it's a fun campaign. They give out prizes depending on how you all do in reducing your waste. Metro Nashville actually has a zero waste plan, and zero waste is not even technically accurate. It's not zero waste. It's reducing from where you are now to 90% less waste in that range. Any reduction in waste means the landfills will last longer. It means those recoverable materials will be turned into new ones and supporting our local economy and local jobs. So recycling works in many ways, but TDEC is promoting that through their campaign, and which is kicking off on October 27th.
Let me ask one more question about the laundry. Is it true that fleece is one of the big causes of plastic?
Yeah, fleece. It's like so cozy and warm and inexpensive, right? But it is purely, I believe it's 100% a plastic product. So thankfully it can be recycled, but when you wash the fleece, inevitably there are particles and fibers that are going to come off over time and end up in the water. It's just how it works.
I found that very distressing.
I know. It's like at some point you've got to realize we are humans, part of nature, that we're going to impact the environment. The world is going to change because we are a force of nature. And so I think not being debilitated by these ideas that, well, does that mean I have to stop buying fleece? My daughters love fleece, and I have a couple fleece items. So that's up to the individual to decide. And we all do the best we can. But let's not let that discourage us from doing the right thing every chance we have, and reducing our impacts and shifting our impacts from negative impacts to positive ones. That's why we promote composting and pollinators and trees, because those are all positive impacts we can have on the environment. Now, oh gosh, the David Attenborough film Life on Our Planet. I need to watch that. It's on Netflix, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So I will add that to my watch list. And recommendations such as eating more plant-based food. So I definitely, I would suspect that the recommendations they would give at the end of a film that features David Attenborough would be beneficial things. And I do know that both my daughters are vegetarian. I'm not. I'm more omnivorous, but I definitely lean vegetarian because I do understand it's healthy. It's healthier for the body as well as the planet because it takes an enormous amount of energy to produce beef and chicken. And the way it's done through industrial agriculture with feedlots and massive warehouses full of chickens, it's a very energy intensive process. And so, yes, eating more plant-based foods. Every hamburger you replace with a vegetarian burger is, I think, 90% less energy and water required, and it's going to leave your body healthier as a result. So, there's another great documentary on Netflix called Game Changers, and it goes more into depth with the food and what it does to our bodies and how beneficial it is to eat more in the plant-based arena.
I do highly recommend that David Attenborough film if everyone is interested, and obviously you are. That's why you're here.
Yes, I've heard good things about it, but I've not seen it yet. So I'll put it back at the top of my list now. My daughter's come home tonight, which means we're probably going to be watching Harry Potter. So, but maybe I can talk them into watching this as well. Items that tear brown. Yeah, mixed paper dumpster. Yeah, a question about mixed paper tears white, cardboard tears brown, right? I'm not sure what that question means. If you clarify it, I'd be happy to answer it. But paper is recyclable and there's all kinds of it in the dumpster, that's for sure.
Hi, it's Bridget. So we had somebody from the recycling center come and do a program for us at the library. And she talked about how the easiest way to see which dumpster you should be putting those items in is to tear them. And if the inside is white, then they go into the mixed paper dumpster. But if the inside is brown, then they're cardboard.
Uh-huh.
So that's been an easy way for me, and taught my kids how to, tear it to see what color it is. But I always see what to me is because they said no matter how thin, like the brown paper is just a thinner version of the cardboard.
Okay.
So, but I see that a lot in the mixed paper recycling dumpster. And I know people are trying to do the right thing, but then is that whole bin contaminated, or is that something they can separate out?
Well, everything we recycle goes to the materials recovery facility first. That's where it goes from our curbside or the convenience center. And there are several of those in Middle Tennessee, and they do sort through everything before it goes where it belongs. So it is kind of a labor intensive process, and it's not perfect, but plastic goes into the plastic chute, and aluminum and cans go there, and paper, I would assume, is the same process. And I'm pretty sure cardboard would probably be okay if it were broken down and turned into a number of paper products, but it can't be done the other way. Like, you couldn't take mixed paper and turn it into cardboard because there is a different integrity to the fiber. So I don't think it's not a thing that's going to contaminate the system, but it will degrade the quality of the cardboard at the cardboard remanufacturing plant if there's a lot of mixed paper in there. So I think it's crazy because there are so many ins and outs and do's and don'ts about recycling that make it confusing, which is why, for one reason why we have such high contamination in Middle Tennessee, and also why some people just throw their arms up in the air and just don't do it, because it's not that easy to do. There's a lot of rules, And our website does explain as clearly as we possibly could what can and cannot be recycled. But yes, both of those things, if you had a bunch of mixed paper and cardboard in the same thing, it just couldn't go to the pure cardboard factory. It'd have to go to a mixed paper that would downgrade that into like toilet paper or something like that, right? So do I have contact info for recommended companies to help us evaluate the energy efficiency of our homes? Well, wow, yeah. I'm a huge fan of E3 Innovate, and I can just go ahead and type that in here, e3innovate.com. I've been, because when I produced kilowatt hours, I learned a lot about home energy efficiency and the energy efficiency of our buildings, and how it's one of the biggest energy consumers in the nation is buildings. And so if we make them more efficient, and you can take any home, no matter how old it is and no matter what shape it is, and you can make it efficient if you have the right people come in and do it. So I became a fan of E3 Innovate over a decade ago when they first got into business. I know the owner really well. I produce a lot of their promotional videos, and I'm always amazed at what they're able to do with a home in terms of insulation. They do everything from lighting. They do the crawl space sealing and encapsulation. They seal every crack so that the air loss does not take place anymore. I just typed their website in there. I highly recommend them. And thanks for asking that. So your compost has attracted animals. Is there a type of compost bin you recommend? Mine does too. They keep knocking the horse wire sort of barrier around mine down, and they climb in there. And the animals it attracts typically are the possums, and opossums happen to be very beneficial creature. I don't mind because we live in a neighborhood where there are deer walking around. I have groundhogs in my yard, and most of us have that experience with wildlife. And my compost pile is at least 50 feet away from my house. So I can sometimes, I'll drive home and I'll see a possum hopping over there to the compost pile. Possums also eat 5,000 ticks a day, if they're in that kind of environment where there are ticks around. So they're very beneficial in that and they also break down a lot of carcasses and other things, trash that are sitting around our environment. So, but if you don't like animals and you want to compost, or you don't like the critters coming by, there are rotating bin composters, and there are the stationary ones that are just like an upright bin, a tub, that have good locking lids on them. And I would recommend getting one of those because they keep the odors down so the animals can't smell it as well. But the rotating ones are probably best for keeping the critters away. They're just a lot smaller, so you can't put as much in them. Cancel and deposit redemption and recycling in Tennessee. That's a great question. There has been a bill introduced year after year for like some 20 years. A former TEC, Tennessee Environmental Council employee, Marge Davis, has been a champion of that. She lives in, I think, Lebanon, and has gotten some support, but there's been a lot of opposition from certain industries, I guess, about having that bottle deposit. But essentially, many states have it, and you can look at any bottle that say who has that container deposit. So you pay a little bit extra for each container you buy. I think it's like 5 cents, but you get that back when it's recycled. So it's an incentive to recycle and not throw it in the side of the road, right? Or in the trash. And so there is actually a renewed effort to pass that legislation in Tennessee, and it hopefully will happen in the next couple of years. Challenging for folks living in apartments to recycle and compost, yeah. So there are a number of services you can sign up for if you live in an apartment or you know people who do and don't have an opportunity to recycle, but they want to do the right thing. Part of it is how serious are you about recycling, or composting, because I know some people that live in apartments and still do the recycling and composting. There are services like Compost Nashville who will come pick up their compost. They'll provide you a container. They'll pick it up every week. There's no odors from that. They'll pick it up and bring you back the fresh container. And they'll trade them out every week for you. So that is one way for an apartment dweller to participate in composting. And as far as recycling goes, it's a little bit more challenging if you don't have the space to have recycling containers and take them over to the recycling center, which my bottles are full. I need to take them to the convenience center like today. I don't have any other recommendations other than that as far as how to recycle and compost if you live in an apartment.
Jeff, don't
Yeah.
some of those composting services also bring you back compost in exchange for your having which is, if you're a gardener, that's
They
kind of
do.
nice.
Yes, the compost. Yeah, the one that I just mentioned, Compost Nashville, will bring you twice a year. They'll bring you a big load of finished compost that you can put in your garden. So it's a pretty amazing program, and they are one of the sponsors of our compost program. So we always tout their company whenever we can. And yeah, so if you want to pay for a service, they'll pick it up every week, and it's really convenient. It's a good way to go. And for those who don't want to pay for a service, backyard composting works as well. And that's what I've been doing. You know, we started composting in my family when I was probably 15 years old in the 1980s in California, and not because there was a regulation or a mandate. It was just because my parents thought it was a good idea. And we put all our yard clippings in there. You know, in Southern California, Los Angeles, we have small yards, but we put everything in there, and it never filled up. And my dad would clear it out from the bottom with the fresh soil every so often, probably once a year, and put that in his garden. He's a gardener. Composting is an amazing process, and it works everywhere. Rothy shoes made from plastic bottles. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, anything that has, I will say buying clothing that has recycled content, like Patagonia has a whole line of recycled plastic bottle garments, like fleece that's made out of recycled plastic bottles. That's definitely a way better than all those bottles being in a landfill and some of them ending up in streams and oceans. I would support purchasing recycled plastic clothing, even though when you wash those items in the wash machine, some fibers will end up in the water. But it's still a step above just having all that plastic going into the environment, creating a
Thank you.
market for use plastic.
That makes me feel better about Patagonia as well, Jeff.
Mhm. I had a 100% recycled Patagonia fleece that I wore on that bike journey across America, and I wore that for like 20 years. So those are high quality garments that will last for a long time, and that's one of the greatest solutions there is right there, the durability of our items, the quality of them. So any other questions? Resources for kids, teaching young kids about taking care of our environment. There is a Tennessee Environmental Education Association, TAAEE, and probably.org. You can Google them, and they have all kinds of resources. There are a lot of materials and there are a lot of programs. And who else? There's something called pelt.org, and they're working on getting a environmental curriculum into our schools statewide through some legislation. So there's a couple efforts, but as far as specific resources for the kids, I would say, yeah, there are lots of really cool things. I would say my kids get a lot of their information from TikTok. It's pretty crazy, but they find it. They find all this stuff, these really cool ideas about taking care of our environment. And we are working on developing a youth environmental council within our organization that breaks down our programs to a more youthful sort of package, if you will. Urban Green Lab does a lot. It's another local nonprofit in Nashville that focuses in the Nashville community, but they work with teachers on creating curricula for kids in the classrooms. But you know, the greatest way to teach young kids about taking care of our environment, I would say sign up for our Pollinator program and our Tree Day initiative and the compost, and involve kids in those activities when you set them up, when you go out to plant the tree in your yard or on your farm, or you're digging your pollinator garden, have your kids there helping out, and they will learn innately. And I never was a huge advocate for my children. Like I didn't preach things to them. They just sort of picked it up on their own. Of course, I do live that way as much as I can, so they pick it up in that way too. But it's amazing how much kids learn just by observing the elders, right? Their
Here in
parents.
Williamson County, Williamson Recycles provides a lot of support for schools. We have clubs in schools for recycling, and it's all supported through Williamson Recycles.
And what is the recycling infrastructure predominantly in Williamson County? Do you have to take your own recyclables to a location? Or are there
Yes.
curbside programs?
Depends on where you live.
Yeah.
In Franklin, they'll pick it up.
But in Brentwood, we have a couple of places.
Mhm. Yeah, well, and if this region continues to grow, I'm sure recycling will inevitably become more and more commonplace. I don't think that when I first moved to Nashville, there was a curbside program. I don't think it existed. It started up right around that time, 2001 or 2. And the
Well,
improvement happened fast.
we have some private pickup, but they're not terribly satisfactory. A lot of times they don't really separate stuff as much as they should, and I have no idea where they take them. So
Mhm. Yeah, I know. We have to trust that the companies that are doing what they say they're going to do when we hire them to do it. Okay, cool. So I don't see any new questions that I have not addressed already. Is there anything else y'all want to talk about? One of the questions I did notice on your text the other day, Betty, was about fracking in Tennessee, and it's not a thing in Tennessee predominantly, according to my sources. And this is from Scott Banbury. I emailed him because he's kind of sort of an expert on fracking, Scott Banbury, and a good friend. But he said, no, most oil and gas in Tennessee is conventional drilling. So it's a different process, way less water and chemical intensive, does not disrupt water tables. It's just traditional oil and gas drilling for what it is. And there is quite a bit of oil and gas in Tennessee. I can't give you the numbers on that, but it is an economy here.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Jeff. I really liked your suggestions for ways to engage. Is that list accessible on your website?
It is, but not in that same format. So if you go to our website, our homepage, and you just scroll down, you'll see a number of buttons there, and it'll say start composting, plant a tree. So yeah, it's broken down in little buttons. You just click on any of those and you can register for that
Thank you.
activity, that program.
Excellent. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. It's been a pleasure to talk with you all, and you have my email address. I'll just type it in here. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask anytime. We are here to serve and to make our planet a better place. And it does work when people get engaged in it.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't agree more.
You're
Just want to
welcome.
remind everybody, our speaker next month on November 18th will be Hetty Weinberg, the director of the Tennessee ACLU. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you all.
See you next month. Go vote.
thanks, Jeff.
Go vote. Yes. You're welcome, everybody.